Started trying for a family basically right when we got married. Um, that proved to be a lot harder than I thought. I remember being very upset probably the first month that I didn't have a positive pregnancy test. And I think, as I've written about before, I think it was a good precursor for me to realize that it wasn't going to just go my way right away, and things were probably going to be a little different than I thought. So um, we tried for a family for 6 months or so, and I had read something like, if you've been trying for 6 months and you're over 30, you might want to start looking at what's going on. So then I was telling Adam, we probably need to look into this. He didn't find anything wrong. Everything looked great on paper, but he was telling us we could start the initial stuff just because of my age and because we wanted to start a family right away. So I remember agreeing, okay, we'll do that. I hadn't taken any meds yet. And I think I had just started doing like some of the more in-depth imaging stuff. Adam drove me to this place to have like just an imaging test done, but they inject dye into you. And I was like, what are we doing on the road, going to random hospitals to get this stuff done? But anyhow, once we got through everything, I was randomly pregnant. So we didn't have any IVF treatment. I was like, okay, wonderful. Like, it's happening for us. We're that couple that was almost about to start IVF and then got pregnant. You hear about that all the time. So that was pregnancy one. We kept it fairly under wraps, but only because I was waiting to the magical point that the doctor says you're good to go and statistically you're safe. So that actually hit right around the Masters. And I was waiting on, and I knew it was coming. I was waiting on a call, what I thought was just going to be to tell us the sex of the baby. I took the call, and like everyone says, it started with, hey, Jessica, do you have a minute? I don't have good news. So I'm like, okay. So I get in the car in the parking lot, in the courtesy car by myself. Adam and George are standing outside the car. And she basically just said, your baby's diagnosed with this genetic condition. There's probably a 99.9% chance you lose this pregnancy. It's just a matter of when. So, there's really nothing you can do right now. But unfortunately, we don't ever see these go to term. So I was sitting in the car. I remember just like staring at Adam through the window. He's just so happy talking to George. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he has no clue what the call that's going on. And I remember saying, okay, and is it a boy or girl? And the doctor, I think it was her PA, was like, oh, it's a girl. That was it. We ended the call. My parents were staying with us that week at a rental house. So I was like, I can't go back. I was just in complete shock. And I don't know why, other than I had built up getting pregnant so much that I was totally blown away that it wasn't going to just be like, okay, this is it for us. So I said, I can't go back to the house. Like, I don't want to talk to my parents right now. So I remember parking in like a grocery store parking lot in Augusta. And I felt bad too, because Adam had gone from being so happy and like he shot this whatever on Thursday at the Masters. And I'm like, oh my God, our whole perfect happy thing is crumbling down with the pregnancy. I remember flying home. I remember there was a tour couple on our flight. I had been like crying, just full state of shock. I remember seeing them on the plane and the wife kind of giving me a second glance. I know she had to think, whoa, what is going on? Flew home. We basically waited around for, I don't know, another 3 weeks or so. Went to like another ultrasound appointment where they confirmed that the lab was correct and said, actually, there's even more like fatal anomalies that we found. So again, you just, kind of a wait and see. So I think it was, I don't know, three weeks later maybe, officially lost the pregnancy and started to try to pick ourselves up off the floor. I was supposed to be monitoring if all of the HCG hormone like wore off from the previous pregnancy. So I take a pregnancy test in the rental at the US Open, and it's positive. And instead of this time being like, yay, I was like, you're kidding me. Like, we spent a whole year trying to get pregnant. You know, we're about to do IVF and then get pregnant, lose it, and now we're pregnant again. So I remember walking out of the bathroom. Adam hadn't gone to the course yet, and I'm like, well, and I just held it up, and he's like, are you kidding me? So we were like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Like, I'll let the OB know. So I had contacted my doctor, and she's like, that's amazing. That's great news. I've seen this happen a lot where, you know, you actually can get pregnant pretty quick after a pregnancy loss. So I thought, okay, like, this is probably it, because the first one was like a weird thing that happened, and this really seems that it could be like our chance. Anyways, end up going to an ultrasound. I don't know if it's like your 12-week, 10-week. I think I went a little early because of my history. And I remember she's the PA, but she was super nice. She's like, this is it. Lightning doesn't strike twice. The first one was like, you know, it was only a 1% chance of that even happening. So I have a good feeling. And I was sitting on like the ultrasound bed thinking, oh, don't say that. And I'm not superstitious. I don't feel like that on the golf course, nothing. But I just thought, oh, don't say that. And they start the ultrasound, and I can clearly see there's no heartbeat. At that point, I told Adam, I want to stop. Like, I want to break. I don't want to try. I want to actively not try because my mental health is just shot. We did not have any plans to try and get pregnant till we went through IVF and did genetic testing and tried to not end up in the same position we have been in and spent, you know, 2 years of our life dedicated to. So we did IVF. We had a great doctor. After a lot of conversation with the reproductive endocrinologist, we put both in, went to the ultrasound. I think they do it really early then, like 6 weeks. And we were both so nervous, and basically he said, yep, you've got one, it's stuck. You're like every other parent. You don't know if it's a boy or girl. Usually in IVF, you know what you put in, you know what you're having. So that was kind of fun. And like the first time that it was like, okay, like I think we're normal. Like we get to wait and see if it's a boy or girl. So I thought for sure it was a boy. The first 2 pregnancies were girls. At one of the other early ultrasounds, the tech's like, this is so early. If I had to guess, I think maybe a boy, but it's early. So I'm like, it's a boy. I just know it. So I was really happy to see like the lab result of girl, because I just felt, okay, like I was meant to have a girl. Like this is the 3rd pregnancy, it's a girl. So that's Maddox. Maddox's pregnancy was really me being on guard the entire time, not buying anything, not telling anyone. And when we had Maddox, we didn't have any family come. It was just Adam and I in Scottsdale. We did it all for the first, I think, 3 weeks, and then my mom came. Finally, she was like busting through the door, like, it's time. And then, you know, from there it became more real, obviously, every day that it's like, okay, like, no, this baby is ours. But, you know, still to this day, Adam and I will say, isn't it weird? And I think maybe all parents do, but isn't it weird that we have a 3-year-old? Isn't it weird that we have a 3.5-year-old? Like, we're just still, I guess, so grateful that it turned out the way it did. So many people don't get that. I think what was really good for me with the foundation was actually hearing from other people, not that they had been through other stuff, but like I thought our situation was so bad and so dark. And I'm not saying it wasn't difficult and dark, but I've heard stories now that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how have you even kept going and tried again and again and again, you know? So I think because I had never known anyone who went through IVF, I never knew anyone who had miscarriages. My mom had 5 kids, 5 pregnancies, 5 kids. So I just truly did not know anything about infertility at all, or IVF. I never thought about it. Everyone I knew had their babies very easily. So I actually appreciate our foundation for hearing other people's stories and maybe putting into perspective that, yeah, what we went through was tough, but it doesn't compare to what other people have went through. And we've always had the financial means to deal with whatever has happened. And we were actually really lucky to have the outcome we did without draining every single account we have. If all we ever do is continue to do what we're doing right now with 1 IVF grant or 2 IVF grants a year and our genetic testing fund for families going through pregnancy loss, then to me that's enough, because I never thought, let's start this to, I don't know, like go big time, or, you know, I'd love to see the foundation grow and people support us because, you know, they're moved by our stories and our family's stories and they can relate to it. But if we never grew past what we are now, then I consider that well enough, honestly.